Okay. So, good morning. Today we will continue our discussion on the approximate solution which was attempted originally by Squire, and in this case we write down the integral formulation of the boundary layer equations for natural convection. So, we have the momentum integral equation and the energy integral equation which was derived, and the approximation comes in the form of making a guess for the velocity and temperature profiles. So, in this case, since the natural convection problem has a maxima in the velocity profile somewhere within the boundary layer, right, something like this. So, therefore, we have to be careful to choose the more or less a reasonably good approximation for this variation. We cannot therefore predict this with a linear profile or even a quadratic profile for that matter. So, unlike the external forced convection boundary layer, therefore, the choice of velocity profile here has to be at least in the the minimum order that we have to take is a cubic polynomial. Okay. And similarly, when we look at the temperature equation, here we can make approximations ranging from linear all the way to quadratic or cubic, like the way we did the external force convection. So, for the present case we will consider a quadratic variation in the temperature profile. Okay. And the other approximation that Squire did was, because we have basically several unknowns here, we do not know the reference velocity, we do not know the momentum boundary layer thickness and also the thermal boundary layer thickness. However, we have only two equations. Therefore, he made the assumption that the two boundary layer thicknesses are approximately the same. So, this is valid if your Prandtl number is close to 1, it can be between 0.7 to something like 1.2, 1.3, which most of the gases are within this particular range of Prandtl numbers, and therefore, this is not a bad approximation to make. Okay. Now, in order to find these coefficients, we have 4 coefficients in the velocity profile and 3 in the temperature profile. We have to write down the suitable boundary conditions for them. So, let us list down what are all the boundary conditions in terms of velocity and temperature. So, what are the important boundary conditions we can write? So, this is your y and this is your x. So, y equal to 0 is nothing but eta equal to 0. What can we write? At eta equal to 0, u equal to 0, and what will be the second boundary condition? At eta equal to 1, u equal to 0 again, we do not have any velocity outside the boundary layer in the natural convection case. And number 3, we need totally 4 boundary conditions. So, what will be the third boundary condition we can write? Where do you want to write the third boundary condition? At the wall or at the boundary layer? At eta equal to 0 or 1? 1. What is the condition? Du by dy or du by d eta is equal to 0. So, before we give a boundary condition to the higher order derivatives, we have to give it to the first order derivative. Okay. So, if you apply the fourth boundary condition at the wall, what it would be? So, d square u by dy square is equal to write down the momentum equation. From the momentum equation, tell me. G beta into T wall minus T infinity by nu and then minus sign. Okay. So, you see that the boundary condition at eta equal to 0 is for the second derivative. So, before giving this, we have to give a first derivative boundary condition at eta equal to 1. We cannot directly jump to this. Okay. So, therefore, now we have 4 boundary conditions. We can substitute into this polynomial here. Okay. So, try to find out the 4 constants or coefficients. I will list down the final profile, okay, after you do all the manipulation. So, you will end up with u by so this is the final profile that you will be getting after all the manipulation. Okay.
Is that right? 1 minus y by delta whole square or the bracket the whole square?
Yeah, 1 minus y by delta, the it should be, yeah, it should be 1 minus eta the whole square here, right, right, that is correct. Okay. Now, I think the second part, finding the temperature profile, you can do it quickly here. So, let us write down the conditions. We need 3 boundary conditions. So, at eta equal to 0, what is your value of theta? 1, and at eta equal to 1, theta equal to 0, and then third boundary condition d theta by 0. So, apply these 3 conditions quickly and find out the temperature profile in terms of theta. So, what is the coefficient A1? 1, okay. So, what do you get finally if you put them? What are the coefficients B1 and C1? So, B1 will be minus 2, 1. So, therefore, the temperature profile comes out to be simply 1 minus eta the whole square. Okay. If you substitute it, so you will be getting nothing but 1 minus eta the whole square. This is This is 1 minus 2 eta plus eta square, which is 1 minus eta the whole square. Okay. So, that now that you have the approximate profiles, can you check the location where the maxima is obtained? So, now that you have the approximate profile, a cubic velocity profile, you still do not know where the maxima can occur, which location at which y. So, can you now use this profile and find out? Find out two things, one is the location, the other is the magnitude of u max. Huh? 1 by 3. Okay. So, if you apply the condition du by d eta equal to 0, so this is the condition for finding the saddle point. Okay. So, from this it turns out to be that eta equal to 1 by 3 will satisfy this condition. Okay. And now what is the magnitude u by u reference at eta equal to 1 by 3? Anybody has a calculator can check this. One by 3, 2 by 3 the whole square. What it is?
4 by 27.
Huh?
4 by 27.
4 by 27. Okay. So, eta equal to 1 by 3. So, what is the corresponding value of y? So, y therefore delta by 3, correct. So, if this is your boundary layer thickness delta, 1/3 of this. So, we are actually not drawing this correctly here. So, if you take 1/3, it will be somewhere like this, and then so this will be where it is peaking. So, this location here is your delta by 3, and this is where the maxima exist. This is the where u max. Yeah.
Why can't we take u by u reference equal to 1 and maximum?
U by
U reference equal to 1.
well, I mean we do not know what is this reference, okay, in the beginning it could be anything. Okay, now from the profile you are getting actually where is the exact value of the maxima. If your u is equal to u maxima, I mean now this is not correct because the location is coming out to be 1 by 3 and also u by u reference is not coming out to be 1, it is coming much smaller than that. So, your reference is actually somewhere either this side or this side. Okay. You understand, your reference is some value which is actually 4 by 27th of u reference, right. So, this is the maximum. So, your u by this is your actually the value of your, you can say this is your maximum. Your maxima is actually 4 by 27th time your u. So, your u reference is some value, okay. You are not worried about what it is, but you are relating it with the u maxima through this polynomial.
Sir, but the thing is, for eta equal to 1 by 3, if we take the d square by d eta square, it is coming out to be positive. So, it will be minimum, right?
It should come out to be negative. Does it come out to be positive? It should come out to be negative. Huh? It's negative, right? Yeah, it should come out to be negative.
Sir, how accurate is this value?
Well, okay, so this is only for when we assume a cubic polynomial. If you assume a quartic polynomial, this might slightly change. okay. But this is an indication telling you that you can have any reference velocity, but if you know the profile approximately, you can actually get the value of u max. So, in this case the u max is actually a small fraction of u reference. So, that means what can it say about u reference? U reference is much larger than u max, and can you pinpoint any value here which is much larger than u max? No. So, this is some value that you have put as your reference, it does not matter. Okay. However, what is important is finally you are able to relate your u reference with respect to your u max. Okay. So, if because you do not know strictly what is the value of u max, if you want to use that as a reference, you do not know what is u max exactly, but u reference you know, because we estimated from the scaling analysis, that is nothing but square root of g beta t wall minus t infinity into h. This is the approximate order of u reference. Okay. So, from this therefore, we should be able to get some idea about at least where the maximum velocity profile occurs, which we have seen as 1/3 of the boundary layer thickness, and this again varies. You see the boundary layer thickness itself varies with x. So, the location correspondingly changes, and we have also established a relation between u max and u reference. Okay.
U max is smaller than u reference.
Yeah, so u reference is some value, theoretical value, it is not exactly lying on the profile. So, this is what you have to basically conclude, okay, because you cannot practically identify a point which is larger than u max, correct. So, the u max is a small fraction of your u reference, means u reference has to be some hypothetical or theoretical value which is not identified in this particular profile, okay. But that does not matter, because finally once you relate your u reference to u max, so you can always plot it on a physical diagram, okay. So, you can always now rechange the reference, you can use u by u max and you can use the scaling factor to scale it. So, it does not matter, okay. So, what we will do next is, once the profiles are obtained, so you can substitute back into the integral equations, the momentum and the energy integral, and you can of course integrate it out, because unlike the external force convection you do not have two boundary layer thicknesses. So, you do not have to define a Prandtl number and then say Prandtl number greater than 1, you can therefore neglect the ratio of delta t by delta and all that, okay. So, you can directly substitute it, you have only delta, this is the only boundary layer thickness, but what you do not know is also your u reference, okay. So, the exact magnitude of u reference is also not known. So, therefore, if you just simply substitute and integrate it with respect to y, this is the following equation that you will get. So, I am assuming that you will be able to do the integration. So, that is if you substitute for u square as u reference square into eta into 1 minus eta the whole square, okay, into this. So, integral 0 to 1 delta into d eta, okay. So, this integral will now lead to 1 by 105, okay. Similarly, on the right hand side you have if you substitute for your temperature profile into this, so this will be integral 0 to delta g beta into, so in terms of theta you can write this as theta into t wall minus t infinity dy, and you can substitute the profile for theta as 1 minus eta the whole square and integrate it. The others are all constant, g beta t wall minus t infinity. So, if you integrate it, you will get 1 by 3 as the constant, and then you will have g beta into t wall minus t infinity into delta. So, dy you can write it as delta into d eta, okay. And you also have minus nu into du by dy at y equal to 0. Now what will be this? If you substitute this profile, what will be the value of du by dy at y equal to 0? Y equal to 0 indicates what? Eta equal to 0. So you will be getting minus nu into u ref by delta. Okay. So in terms of du by dy. Okay. So this is your momentum integral after you substitute the approximate profile. Similarly, the energy integral also can be reduced. So I will just write down the expression here, 1 by 30 times d by dx u reference times delta. So that is you are substituting for u and t minus t infinity as theta into t wall minus t infinity. Okay. So if you do the integration, you get 1 by 30, and on the right hand side what do you get for minus alpha dt by dy at y equal to 0. So what will be, so this is 1 minus 2 eta plus eta square. So what is d theta by d eta at eta equal to 0? Minus 2. Therefore, how do you transform this? You can write therefore dt by dy as dt by d theta into d theta by d eta at, this is at y equal to 0. So this becomes eta equal to 0 into d eta by dy. Okay. So from your definition of theta, your dt by d theta is nothing but t wall minus t infinity. And what is d eta by dy? Eta equal to y by delta. So d eta by dy should be 1 by delta. This is by delta into d theta by d eta is minus 2. So minus of this will become just 2 times. Okay. So therefore when you substitute this into this expression, so basically both sides t minus t infinity can be written as t wall minus t infinity into theta. So t wall minus t infinity will get cancelled and you will have 2 by delta. So this will be therefore 2 alpha by delta. Is that okay? So this will be your energy integral. So now therefore so we have two equations, two ODEs in terms of what? U reference and delta, two unknowns. Okay, now how do we find these two? So one thing what we can do is make a polynomial approximation for U reference and delta which varies with x, because in order to do this differentiation we have to know what is the variation of U reference with respect to x, delta with respect to x, which we do not know. Okay. So therefore let us make an approximation that U reference is equal to C1 some x power m. So this is how it varies. Okay. Similarly, let us make an approximation then that delta varies as C2 x power some n. from the scaling analysis, when we did the similarity solution, we know these constant exponents m and n. Do you remember what these m and n were? If you from the similarity solution, so from the original Polhausen solution, so what was U reference? The order of magnitude of U reference was g beta delta t x square root. So therefore, there it was x power half. Okay. So m should actually come out to be equal to 1 by 2, but since we right now assume we do not have any knowledge of similarity solution, we cannot force this condition from this. Okay, we are doing this independent of whether the similarity solution exists or not. So whatever we have done, in this case we have not got any input from the similarity solution. Okay. So therefore, this is what we know from similarity solution, and from the approximate solution we should be able to extract the value of m as 1 by 2. And what about n? What is the dependence on x? X by Grashof number to the power 1 by 4. Okay, so we have 1 minus 3 by 4, that is what, x power 1 by 4. Okay, that is n equal to 1 by 4. So this is what we should be finally concluding from the approximate solution. So what we will do, we will just let us for the time being assume some x power m, x power n, we do not know these exponents, let us put them into the equations 1 and 2 here. Okay. Then in order to balance the order of equations on the left hand side and right hand side, the terms, we have to equate the powers to be the same. So you cannot have, in order to dimensionally satisfy the equation, the order of x on the left hand side and right hand side should be the same. On the left hand side you cannot have x cube, and the right hand side you cannot have x power 1 by 4, then dimensionally it will not be consistent. Okay. So what we will do is we will substitute this into this equation and then equate the order, the exponents on both sides, and then from there we will deduce what will be the value of m and n. Okay. So if you substitute C1 x power m into the U ref and C2 x power n, the momentum integral will be what is more important is the order of x. Okay, you do not have to worry about the other constants which are multiplying them, because they are all just constants. Okay. So all this, but only the order of x you have to pay attention. Okay. So that has to be equated the same on both the sides. So equation 1 becomes 3 and 2 becomes 4. So from this, therefore, in order to make sure that they are dimensionally consistent, from equation 3 what is the condition? 2m plus n minus 1 should be equal to n, which should also be equal to m minus n. Okay. Now from the second, from the equation number 4, m plus n minus 1 should be equal to minus n. Okay. So, if you solve this, you will be able to satisfy this with values of m equal to 1 by 2 and n equal to 1 by 4. Okay. So, even directly from this, if you equate n cancels, you have m equal to 1 by 2, and then if you again substitute m equal to 1 by 2, you can get the value of n from this second equation, and the same thing will satisfy also this equation. Okay. So, m equal to 1 by 2, n equal to 1 by 4 satisfies both, correct. So, now therefore, you see that this is correct, because from these similarity solution scaling analysis, that is what we have already obtained. So, now we can at least be assured that the order of magnitude of values we get from approximate solution will be correct, because we are predicting the behavior variation with respect to x correctly. Now, the next step is to find out what is the exact value. Okay. So, now since we know m and n, so this we can substitute for m and n in the equations 3 and 4, and what we have is two equations, two constants C1 and C2, correct. So, these constants are coming from u reference and delta. Okay. We now know m and n, only the two constants C1 and C2 have to be determined. So, if you substitute for m and n, so can you please quickly calculate, if you substitute m equal to half, n equal to 1 by 2, what is the, how does equation 3 reduce to? So, what will be 2 m plus n by 105? Hmm? 3 by 140 into, what is the exponent of x here?
So it's 1 by 84.
1 by 4.
So it's 1 by 84, not 3 by 4.
1 by
84.
84. And this should be x power 1 by 4, right. On this side we have g beta t wall minus t infinity into C2 by 3 into x power 1 by 4 minus C1 by C2 nu x power 1 by 4. Okay. The powers of x should be same, and similarly from this equation, what is m plus n by 30? Please check, calculate once again. Huh?
1 by 40.
1 by 40. So, let us call this as 5 and 6. So, you have two equations for two unknown constants C1 and C2. Okay. So, now if you solve them, solve these two equations, if you find it too cumbersome to solve, you can put it in a symbolic manipulation mathematical package like Mathematica or Maple. You can simply copy paste these two equations and ask it to solve for C1 and C2. Okay. So, finally, you will be able to therefore get C1 and C2, and from that therefore the expression for u reference, because u reference you have assumed as C1 x power m. So, you will get the constant C1 and m is already determined to be 1 by 2. Okay. So, the final expression comes out to be u reference by x is equal to 5.17 nu 0.952 plus Prandtl number to the power minus half and Grashof number to the power half. Okay. So, if you group all the terms, define Grashof number, Prandtl number, so this is what you will end up with. Similarly, delta by x. So, delta is C2 x power n. So, once you get C2, so you can also get the expression for delta 3.93 into Prandtl number minus half So, therefore, finally, so we have the correct expression to determine the exact magnitude of U reference and delta. Okay. So, for a given local Grashof number and Prandtl number, you can get the exact value of U reference. Okay. Now, you see that U reference is actually a function of x. So, there is nothing like a constant reference for the entire plate. So, each location the U reference changes, okay, and similarly the corresponding variation in the boundary layer thickness is also obtained. So, now what is the final step? So, you have got your two unknowns. So, what is remaining? What is remaining to be determined? Nusselt number finally. Okay. We have the exact solution from Ostrach. Okay. Now, similarly, we have to get a correlation for Nusselt number from this. So, how do you get Nusselt number? So, local Nusselt number Hx by k, which is minus k dt by dy y equal to 0 divided by t wall minus T infinity into k. So, we already have the profile for temperature and we already got dt by dy at y equal to 0. What was it? Minus dt by dy at y equal to 0, 2 by delta, that is it, 2 by delta. So, we have k cancels here, therefore, 2 x by delta into T wall minus T infinity. So, this is nothing but if you write in terms of d theta, so I think this will be absorbed. So, it is nothing but simply 2 x by delta. So, it is exactly inverse of this. Okay. So, therefore, we can write the final expression as 0.508 Prandtl number to the power half. What will be Grashof number to the power? 1 by 4 divided by, we have 0.952 plus PR raised to the power 1 by 4. Okay. So, therefore, we have the final expression, right. So, compare this with the Ostrach solution. What was the constant value there? In the case of Ostrach solution, let me just confirm it. .676. So we have 0.676, but we have to also divide it by 4 power 1 by 4. So that comes out as 0.478. 0.478 times Grashof number to the power half into Prandtl number, Grashof number to the power 1 by 4, Prandtl number half divided by 0.861 plus PR raised to the power 1 by 4. Okay. So if you compare these two, okay, I mean of course there are some variations in the constant coefficients both in the numerator and denominator, but if you calculate the absolute value for a fixed value of Prandtl number, so then this comes out to be very close. Okay. So this value is also slightly smaller, this value is also smaller. So finally you will get a very close match between the exact solution and the approximate solution. Okay. So therefore doing an approximate solution in this case also we will be able to get satisfactory agreement. Okay. And but however, compared to the external force convection, this is not so trivial. Okay. You had to guess the variation of U reference delta, and then you had to calculate the exponents and then coefficients. So it is a little bit roundabout. Okay. In the external force convection it was very straightforward. You know your reference velocity, therefore only delta and delta t have to be calculated. In this case you have to make some approximations for that. Okay. But nevertheless I would suggest that if you are not interested in numerical solution, so then the approximate method will give you a straightforward correlation. Otherwise a similar effort will lead to a new ordinary differential equation which has to be again numerically solved. Okay. So the same procedure can also be extended to constant heat flux boundary condition. Since I think you have already done this for the external force convection, you should be able to repeat similar procedure for by extending the square solution. Okay.
We started with for Prandtl number is almost equal to 1.
Yes.
And then we ended up with U reference value.
See that Prandtl number equal to 1. Yes, we started off because that is to make an assumption in the reducing the number of unknowns, but does not mean that we will be omitting nu by alpha. We are not saying that we should always assume nu by alpha equal to 1. Okay. Still that factor nu by alpha creeps up. Here you have alpha, so therefore here you have nu. So when you calculate, you will get the non-dimensional Prandtl number. Okay. This need not be exactly 1, but to make the analysis simple we used this approximation here, that is all. I mean that is also telling you that both boundary layer thicknesses are nearly the same, so there is no point in differentiating between the two, but when it comes to the thermophysical property they are actually different. So you are correct in the sense that although we got this, we cannot use this for very low Prandtl numbers and very large Prandtl numbers. This has to be applied where the Prandtl numbers are close to 1. So in fact most of the natural convection problems are done with gases. Okay. You do not force very large Prandtl numbers or very small Prandtl numbers into natural convection mode, right. So, we will stop here, and then in the remaining class, that is in the evening at 5 o'clock, we will complete the rest of the natural convection parts, because so far we could find exact solutions or approximate solution, but for most of the problems in natural convection, especially where you have other configurations, like for example the same plate placed horizontally instead of vertical, then you have more complex boundary layer growth, for which we cannot find exact solution. So, we will look at some empirical correlations for those configurations, and then for other geometries like cylinders and spheres. So, there are no simple solutions again. Okay. So, I will just give you some empirical correlations and quickly go on to the internal configuration. In internal flows, how natural convection happens. Once again, there we cannot get a closed form solution. So, all we have to rely on numerical solution or experiments. So, mostly they are all correlation based. I will quickly go over some complex configurations and the corresponding correlations. And along with that, I also want to suggest you a project with the natural convection. This is the final project which we will be doing. So, that also I will give you an idea in the evening class. Okay, thank you.